So one of my really awesome followers said that they sent my house hacking new construction video to a friend, and their friend was like, yeah, I could buy a home that way, but I'm done with roommates. I don't want to have roommates anymore. And that's fair. Like, I remember being a renter and hitting that point where I got my own apartments and I'm like, nah, no more roommates for me. And when Kara and I bought our first house, we thought about house hacking, we thought about duplexes, just wasn't our cup of tea, and we couldn't really find the right one that was truly gonna fit for us. So we found a property that was near a train track and needed some work still and wasn't a 3-2 and had a carport instead of a garage. There were several other compromises we made on that home, but it was in a great location we knew was going to appreciate in value. So my point here, y'all, is that I wish we would have a more open and honest conversation about housing in the market today. There's so much extreme narrative of nobody can afford a house. Not really true. The median price in Greenville is 400,000, and I do deals all the time under 200,000. I'm not talking investor grade, you got a gut job reno that house. I'm talking it's a move-in ready mobile home or a 2-bed 1-bath. And here's the challenge, and this is what we need to have the conversation about. For a lot of people, that's not going to work, and that's the stuck point you can get to as a renter. I remember living in downtown, having a lot of amenities and being in a great location with a really cheap rent, and you eventually kind of get stuck in that mode. You're like, anything I can afford to buy with this monthly payment is kind of a downgrade. It doesn't look that great. It's a 2-1, it's a mobile, it's 30 minutes away, it doesn't have the gym and the pool I'm used to, right? Or your other compromise, of course, is you spend a lot more money per month. You go from $1,500 a month in rent to $3,500 to buy a $400,000 house, depending on factors, down payment, etc. And that is a compromise. That's hard for a lot of people. And what I just want y'all to see is that over time, you taking one of your biggest expenses, your housing, and getting a portion of that back in the form of principal pay down, equity, that adds up. But the bigger piece of this is that home price appreciation and inflation is still maintained a fairly healthy long-term average pace. 2 to 4% a year doesn't sound like much, but on a $400,000 house, $10, $12, $15,000 a year, that really adds up. And the problem I find is that very few people are even saving that much money, especially outside of a tax deferred type of retirement account with an employer 401k match, things like that. For a lot of folks, if you're not earning a very high income, and this is again kind of where social media says one thing and reality is another. On social media, everybody makes over 500K a year, $1 million a year like it's nothing. In real life, very few people earn over $200,000 a year. And it's usually, I find, people in that income range that can actually kind of do the whole, well, let's keep renting, save and invest and buy our dream home someday. For a lot of folks, they're lucky to have a couple $100s to stash away at the end of the month after they pay all their bills. That's where owning your real estate can over time help you. You're getting that appreciation, you're letting the inflation of the market benefit you versus work against you, and you're also getting some of that cash back, if you will, through principal pay down. But the big compromise is often you might be paying more per month. You may not be getting the housing that you dreamed and want to post all over Instagram, right? It might be something more basic at first. Most of the clients I help buy their dream homes, buy that awesome upgraded property, are rolling equity from several real estate purchases they've made and equity they've just been accumulating over years. And that's the magic of home ownership. Over time, it really helps you increase your net worth, and going from renting to owning instantly makes you a wealthier person. You have an asset. And again, I've done videos on this. Just because you owe the bank money on debt doesn't mean the asset's not yours. The deed's in your name, it's your property, it's your asset, it's in your net worth column. Okay, now of course investment properties are more ideal to own than primary residences for several reasons, assets over liabilities. But all I'm saying is that when you feel ready to make the transition from renting to owning, don't let the compromise scare you. Understand that that's very common, and that's what's more likely than not going to happen. If you're not willing to make that compromise, keep renting. that's fine. If you can't afford a larger payment, don't stretch yourself. If you're not ready to do repairs and work, that's okay too. But don't just kick the can down the road. That's, I think, what a lot of people wind up doing. I did that myself for a long time. I said, I can't afford to buy anything that I really want, so I'll just keep renting. You just don't really make a plan. You just kind of kick the can down the road. And 3, 4, 5, 10 years later, you look at all that appreciation, and you're like, wow, that would have been nice if I had that in my net worth column. So that's the reality of home ownership that I want more people to see. The compromises that are necessary to become a homeowner. That's the honest conversation I wish more people would have. Good luck out there.